Procurement. Recent advances in technology have created profound impacts on many business activities, in particular, digital transformation, rapidly changing back office operations such as supply chain management and procurement. To stay relevant, competitive, and profitable, businesses do need to keep pace with new technologies. Procurement is no exception, and today the kinds of software, hardware, and peripherals available have exploded, to say the least. Joining us to discuss further is Ezichi Okoroafor, who is the managing director of tech firm Meta-Frux, and I do love the name. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. So, yeah, before we get into how tech, impacts supply chains and procurement, Meta-Frux, where'd you get the name? What is it? I'm a big fan of anything that has meta to do with it. Yeah, so you're welcome. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Rutus, for having me. So Meta-Frux essentially means beyond success, transcending success. And if you want to know how that came about, it's basically two Latin words put together.
Okay. So as far as the, and I hope we can bring up some trends that we're seeing in procurement. Do any of the trends that we're seeing stand out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. When you talk about process automation, for instance, cloud applications, cloud-based applications, and well, we can't talk about procurement without talking about self-service portals as well.
Right.
So if I were to touch on those three aspects, it would be, well, with process automation, what do we really mean? We are essentially talking about designing and automating processes where human tasks and anything that's got to do with files moving between systems and people, being able to route that based on pre-configured business rules. And you then have, in accordance with that, self-service portals, where you want users to be able to do all they can when it comes to being able to execute non-critical purchases, being able to manage account information, being able to track order statuses on the same platform. And being able to do that really frees up procurement resources to focus more on more complex transactions. And of course, if the applications are cloud-based, and then you basically have...
That's my cloud. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so you then have the ability to access the applications from anywhere and at any given time.
And so those trends, as far as, do you see them continuing? Yeah, so there we go. So cloud-based procurement, we talked about that, microservices, low-code platforms, process automation, data. What about data analytics? Being able to, extract trends from the data you're looking at. That's also pretty important, yes?
Of course.
So these trends, you see them still moving forward as far as in the years to come?
Oh yes, definitely. These are not going anywhere. I mean, these are here to stay. We have to embrace that.
What major obstacles may arise when an organization attempts process re-engineering? Like maybe backward integration, if we put it in those terms. How do you see that working out? Well,
if I had to pick one obstacle, it would be resistance to change.
Okay.
Especially when there's poor management of that.
Yeah.
Because when you really think about it, especially for service-based organizations, you realize that, people ultimately, very largely execute processes.
Yeah.
And so when we're redesigning processes for improvement, we must always take into account the human element.
Yeah.
And essentially what this means is that, change management has to be proactive. Implementation planning has to be sound, and we want to engage all the stakeholders. We want to ensure that subject matter experts, process owners, that these people are driving implementation and that there are clear understanding of expected outcomes. And, being able to integrate those inputs with best practice is really the way to go.
Yeah.
And following that, implementation planning will then provide a reliable roadmap for execution of whatever you identify through the course of that activity.
The whole issue, these obstacles, is fear, is the resistance to change, is fear part of that? Lack of understanding? Does that factor in as well?
It's a mixture of fear and lack of understanding. And then what change management does is that you then manage that effectively. And there are different ways you can do that. You involve people in what you're doing. You get them to understand that, whatever they see as the risk is not really what the risk is. What the risk really is not embracing innovation in the now, and not applying yourself to think about ways that are much more progressive in terms of getting your work done properly.
All right. Okay. So speaking of which, so the pandemic, how did you handle that? Speaking of change and process re-engineering.
Oh, yes. So for starters, I should probably say a little bit about what we do.
Okay.
Yeah. So Meta-Frux is a business and technology consulting firm. We focus very much on anything to do with improving operational efficiency for our clients.
Okay.
But then within the consulting arm of our business, our core services include business process transformation, requirements management, knowledge management, capacity building. This is the short version, so
right.
I can delve into any aspects that you want. And but then over time, we've evolved our operating model. Our portfolio now includes product engineering, where we basically build solutions to address identified business needs for enterprises. And so with respect to how the pandemic has affected the way that we work now, I think we can both agree that the pandemic forced organizations to redefine value.
Very quickly, before they were ready.
Before they were ready, exactly. And, the way that we deliver value within new ways of working. In reality, my organization and several similar organizations were already accustomed to some of these new ways of working. When you think about, for instance, embracing the optionality of working from home. But then the pandemic pushed us to further explore innovative ways of improving our products, the quality of our products, improving our service delivery. And we continue to innovate because we have to be at the cutting edge because we advise our clients as well.
So you have to be, you have to know what you're doing and live by your example.
So we're constantly checking, we're constantly questioning, can we do it better? Even when we get glowing reviews, we're constantly checking how much more can we do things better to make their lives easier.
I want to ask you about something I call search engine serendipity. Using Burna Boy back in 2018 and remember his Ye single? Right.
Yes, of course.
So there he is. This is 2018. Burna Boy releases a single called Ye. Right? And at the same time, Kanye West has an album called Ye. So anybody who at the time was searching for Kanye West's album, Ye, ended up stumbling across Burna Boy's Ye single. And there he is saying, thanks, Ye, which is short for Kanye. Numbers up 200%. So since Facebook announced Meta, have you, I had to ask this question, I'm sorry. Has MetaFrux experienced the same spike when anybody was looking for the metaverse or looking for Facebook ended up stumbling across you guys?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Did you send out a tweet to Mark Zuckerberg? You didn't? Okay.
No, but I should probably say thanks to them for inadvertently driving traffic our way. I mean, we're happy about that. But
it did happen.
We've been getting much more. We've been getting a bit more traffic online because of that. Ever since that.
Interesting. So off that, I have to ask you, what are your that's not your core area. You've already explained what you guys do. What do you think about the metaverse? What do you think about virtual reality, what it could bring for businesses and what Zuckerberg and his folks are trying to do?
Well, I would say, first of all, I'm glad that I'm alive at this time because it's really interesting times. Things that you never thought could happen, things you thought would be sci-fi. But when it comes to the metaverse, I think that we could spend several hours exploring the possibilities.
Look, I mean, it's just,
but without getting into the weeds, I would like to maybe touch on let me zero in on an opportunity that could apply to our domain when you think about Lagos Smart City, for instance.
Right.
We see cities like Dubai and Seoul, and we see how they are embracing planning, they're actively planning for metaverse smart cities. And the ultimate goal in that sense is to recognize how that can be a superior town planning tool. And with Metaverse Smart Cities, we can essentially create and test scenarios where we explore and expose areas of risk, weaknesses, opportunities that we may not have been able to do ordinarily with 3D planning or even worse on paper. So that's kind of how I see what can be done with that.
Okay.
In terms of when you try and apply it in our domain.
Now, when we talk about these things, they sound great. But implementing here in our own domain, what about the infrastructure needs, like power, electricity, and stuff like broadband penetration and so on? Can you speak towards the need to have those in place to be able to have a metaverse work fluently here in this? Absolutely.
I would say data is a very big one. Without data, there's absolutely no way we can get such insights in the first place. Because remember, with this use case, we actually need the data in order to properly visualize what it is we're trying to do.
Right.
I know that Lagos State has a plan for 2030.
Yep.
And I know that there's already work going on in terms of, fiber optics all over the city. Because without that, just like you said, with the broadband and the rest, it's going to be quite difficult.
Yeah.
So I want to believe that it's possible for us. And I want to believe that we are, at the cutting edge of at least trying to be as progressive minded as possible. And that's pretty much the foundation that we need to do that.
Finally, can that scale across the country? Because every time we talk about Lagos, it's so far ahead already. Internet users are the most here, most businesses are headquartered here. So Lagos is the most, it's the commercial capital of this country. With everything we're talking about, can that scale to a Zamfara, a Benue, a Abia? Just you can, and how long are you positive on that? Can that happen? Because you can see a situation where Lagos just streaks ahead and everybody else is left behind.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Okay.
Because you always have to have someone who can be a pace setter,
right.
a trend setter.
Yeah.
And if Lagos State can, I believe that Lagos State can pull it off. And it's a matter of saying, hey, we're in the same country. They did it. We can do it.
Well, they don't have two heads.
Exactly. You have other states that are also challenger states, if you want to call them that. If you go out there, you see that there are other states actually trying to do more as well when it comes to being, progressive-minded, being, embracing innovation and embracing agility. And so I think, yes, it's possible.
Yeah.
Maybe realistically not within the same timeline, but it's certainly possible.
Finally, your outlook for the growth of tech in this country? Is it, with the hurdles that we're seeing, are you positive going into 2023 and all the other innovations that are coming forward? What's your outlook?
Well, it's very, very optimistic.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's very optimistic. I believe that there's quite a bit we can do. The tech space is booming here.
Yeah.
It's booming. The startup space, for instance, and which is why for us as well, yes, our own innovation is driven by need, because we're very much about what our clients need. But we are trying to make sure that we are playing in that field as well, and we're not left behind. So I believe very strongly that yes.
All right, so we end on an optimistic note. Ezichi Okoroafor, MD of one of my favorite names, MetaFrux. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. You're watching the Global Business Report here on Arise News. After the break, we talk creators in the creative economy. YouTube offering creators 45% of ad revenues. Was their hand forced by TikTok? You stay tuned. We'll be right back.